Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? Welcome back and happy money freaking Monday, baby. Woo! I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to see what we have in store for this week, and I'm ready to crush it with you guys. So before we dive into it officially, hit me with a big ol' good morning. I want to see who's inside of chat, who is ready to rock and roll this morning. As you guys do that, I'm going to try and figure out my webcam issue because I want you to see my beautiful face. And I did my hair, put my makeup on. I mean, I literally spent an hour in front of the mirror this morning just to look extra pretty for you guys. But my webcam's not working, so you can't see how pretty I look. This is wild. You got to love having issues with technology, man. It's like, hey, Saturday, didn't really need it to work. It worked fine. Today, I want it to work. Doesn't work. It's freaking lovely. But, no beautiful Josh today. It's unfortunate. Tom, what's up? Good morning. Corey, Mr. Paxton, what's up, man? Welcome back. Mike, Steve, Kevin, everybody else. Again, good morning. And yeah, we can see clearly the webcam doesn't want to turn on. So it is what it is. No beautiful Josh today, all right? But good morning, everybody inside of chat. If you guys are tuning in over on YouTube, good morning over on YouTube as well. Hit me with a good morning inside of chat. And if you guys are on TikTok, go ahead and hit me with a big old good morning. If you guys are on TikTok and you want to join the live stream, just go to my YT. Links in my profile. Come check us out. Join the stream. We're going to get you guys prepared for today's trading session. And we're going to talk about top stocks. Where's the best of the best opportunity? Where am I looking to take some trades? And where am I looking to put my money to make some money today, guys? We're going to break it down, talk about it, get you guys prepared. So let's start with our economic calendar. As always, we need to go ahead and switch the date. So what do we have on the economic calendar for today? We're pretty much in the clear. I mean, we got factory orders, month-over-month data dropping at 10 o'clock. Medium importance, be mindful of it. But as far as flattening positions, hard stops in the system, right? Factory orders, not the type of data that's going to really rock the market. So for today, pretty much in the clear. Tomorrow, what do we have? We have ISM Services PMI at 10. All right, that's going to be some key data. That's the type of data that could absolutely move the market. So be mindful of that tomorrow, 10 a.m. Wednesday, we don't really have too much going on Wednesday. Thursday, as always, we got jobless claims. What else we have on Thursday? We got some Fed members speaking. You got Fed Bostic speaking at 10. Fed Musalem at 10:20. That's it. So literally just a couple Fed members. And Friday, we're in the clear. So the only 2 days this week you got to be mindful is going to be Tuesday, 10 o'clock. That's going to be ISM Services PMI. And then coming in Thursday morning, you know, we got jobless claims as usual. And you got a couple Fed members speaking there after market open. So it's going to be a not so hot data week. And that's great, right? But we don't have a lot of data that's going to really move the market like we saw last week. But what do we have on the earnings calendar for this week? We definitely got some other names reporting earnings, and I want to be mindful of what we got going on this week. So PLTR reports tonight after the close. HIMS also reporting tonight after the close. Tomorrow after the close, you have AMD, and then you have SMCI, Super Micro, as well. So you got SMCI, AMD tomorrow after the close. Coming up on Wednesday morning, you got Uber, Shopify, McDonald's, Disney, Wednesday before open. What do we got Thursday? A couple names. You got like Celsius. I own Celsius in my long-term account. That's Thursday. And then you got some other names, but those are the ones that really stand out to me and the ones I'll be looking at. So PLTR, HIMS tonight after the close. Tomorrow, AMD, SMCI. We'll look at Disney, Uber as well. And again, see if there's any opportunities to take some of these trades through earnings. So definitely we'll be looking at some of those earnings stocks this week too, guys. And again, see if there's a reason to take a low risk trade through earnings and lock in some profits. We'll see. But that's what's on the earning calendar for the week. So economic calendar, pretty much in the clear. We got some earnings this week as well. And should be a good week. I'll tell you what, last week was good. Last Friday was awesome. You know, starting the new month strong, ending the week strong. Friday was great. So let's see if we got some good movement today as well and carry some of that momentum into the first full week of August, guys. But right now we're on ES, all right? And I'm on a 4-hour time frame. And here's what I'm seeing for today, guys. All right, couple different trade ideas that I have, but I think the best of the best of the best trade will be to the short side today. On ES, that's up around 63.60 here on ES. Okay, why 63.60 do I think that's going to be a really great area to get short if we can get there today? Well, go to the daily time frame, and the first thing that we see is we got a lighter, less significant daily zone of resistance, but we got a little something there, right? We ran up into the zone here on the 21st of July. Nice drop on off, right? Nice reaction on down. Then we broke it here on the 23rd of July, came down, hit that level on the 30th, and had a really nice bounce, right? Came down, hit that level, nice pop. Then we saw the crack in the retest there on Friday, where we actually got below it, held below it as resistance, and then just absolutely tanked to the downside. So I know it's an area that we have less hits than what we're really usually looking for, right? Over 10 hits is kind of where I'm at. We got 1 hit, 2, 3, 4. So it's fewer hits, makes that a less significant zone naturally because of the less hits. But again, look at those sharp moves away from the zone. High a day, big rejection. Low a day, big bounce. High a day, big rejection on Friday. So, I mean, we've seen some pretty sharp, significant moves off that zone. It stands out to me. So we got that zone of resistance up around, what is that? 63.66 to 63.74 on ES. That's going to be a nice daily zone of resistance. Then we get into a 4-hour time frame, and I notice we have some 4-hour supply sitting right at that daily zone of resistance. We have that drop, base, big drop on off. So we have that 4-hour supply zone. Again, it lines up right at that daily zone of resistance. So I already have 2 reasons to get short, up around 63.60. What else do I have? Well, we have a valid leg to the downside, right? That is a nice daily leg to the downside. We have a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. Lower low, lower high, lower low. So we got a nice big lower low now even on the daily. So from daily uptrend to now we're technically in a daily range because we need to see the lower high followed by the next lower low to confirm we're in a daily downtrend. So not in a daily downtrend yet, but we do have one nice big daily leg to the downside, breaking that prior low in the process. So we're going to go ahead and put a fib extension on that daily leg to the downside because we validated and verified it is a valid leg to the downside, leg number 1. So what are we going to do? Put a fib extension on that bad boy. Why are we going to put a fib extension on that bad boy? That's going to give us an idea of where that retracement lower high could form before seeing what? The second leg to the downside. And we can see that on the daily. So I'm even starting to think, hey, day trades could turn into some nice swing trades as well because we see this on the daily, the 4-hour, the 1-hour, right? We do have that 1-hour downtrend, 4-hour leg, the daily leg. We could see the second leg short set up. And so that's where my head is, right? And seeing this on the daily as well, that indicates we could see more follow through to the downside. So that day trade, I would want to be positioned to hold a little bit of that as a swing trade since the setup is forming on a daily, not just a 30-minute time frame, right? So as far as how would I, get positioned, right? I want to buy myself time, hold possibly some of this trade as a little bit of a swing overnight for those reasons. All right. So go ahead and put your fib extension there. Swing high, swing low. Get that fib extension on ES. And then we're going to go right back down into the 4-hour and the 1-hour. So let's go finish on the 1. And so if we go down to a 1-hour, you're going to see we have some 1-hour supply inside of our 4-hour, right up against that daily zone of resistance. And then just take note of that fib extension. Where is that zone of resistance in those 2 zones of supply at? Shocking. Right inside that fib extension's golden pocket. Right in the golden pocket. So how many separate reasons do we have to get short up around 63.60 on ES today? Right? We have one reason, daily zone of resistance. Okay, we have 4-hour supply. That's 2 reasons. We have 1-hour supply inside of 4-hour supply. That's 3 reasons. And that's right where the fib extension's golden pocket is. That's 4 reasons to get short up around 63.60 on ES. And so that's my first plan, guys. Getting short inside that Fibs golden pocket, off those two zones of supply and our daily zone of resistance, where all four of those confluences meet and line up right around 63.60. That's where Joshy Poo is going to take a short position, expecting to see some nice downside. And honestly, since we see this setup developing on a daily, I think this could follow through for a nice swing trade as well. So the SPY puts that I take on this trade, I'm going to buy myself a couple weeks till expiration for sure, because I want to see if we do follow through to the downside and have this day trade turn into a nice little short-term swing. All right. Targets, specifically on ES. Where's my target going to be specifically on ES to the downside, where I look to take some profits? We're looking to be back down around Friday's lows, right? We still have some of that unhit demand on ES down around, 62.30. So that's going to be my target, down around 62.30, some of that untouched demand. And I'm simply going to put stops above all of that supply. So this is what my plan will look like. Entries right around 63.60, where all of those confluences overlap. Stops above that daily zone of resistance and putting stops above that 4-hour, 1-hour supply with a main target, right, for the swing trade over the next couple of days. You're down around 62.30. That's a 10-to-1 risk reward, guys. So I could get positioned on this trade to lose $200, and I've got potential to make $2,000 on this trade. Not going to make 2 Gs because I'm not going to hold the entire position as a swing trade, but the goal is to hold maybe 50% of my position as a swing trade. So get in with about $200 of risk. See if we get that move to the downside today, scale out, lock in some profits, and hold half of that position overnight to see if we get down to that lower demand level. And that would pay a 10-to-1 on 50% of my position. So probably $1,000 in the swing trade just alone as far as where that profit target's at on ES. That's the game plan for the day, guys. If we get up around that 63.60, I'm getting short, and that's why I want to get short. And that's going to be the best of the best trade for today on ES. All right. Let's go look at NQ. So what do we got with NQ today? A lot of the same analysis we did on ES. You could do it on NQ as well. For example, like the fib extension, we have a valid leg to the downside on NQ. So go ahead and put your fib extension on that daily leg to the downside. All right, then we got this nice little daily zone of resistance on NQ. It's right around 23,321 to 23,347. Decent little daily zone of resistance. We come up, we hit it 1, 2, 3 times, get above it, hold it to support, back to back, nice bounce to the upside. Then Friday, that was our gap down high-a-day rejection point. So that really validates this zone of resistance to the upside, because we had the gap down open on Friday, came up, hit that zone as resistance as high a day, and then absolutely tanked to the downside. So that's going to be a nice little daily zone of resistance that we have on NQ. And then take note of where that fib extension is, right? That fib extension's golden pocket, oh my gosh, just so happens to be right where that daily zone of resistance is. So that's already starting to look to be a pretty nice area where we want to get short, up around 23,340. Somewhere in that region would be a great area to get short on NQ. But let's go ahead and take this down into a 4-hour time frame. What do we got on a 4-hour? We got some 4-hour supply here on NQ. Nice little drop on off, base, drop on off. So go ahead and mark up your 4-hour supply. And looky. 4-hour supply lines up at the daily zone of resistance, which lines up right at that fib extension level. Woo! That's looking good. So I already see 3 reasons to get short on NQ up around 23,340, guys. 4-hour supply, daily zone of resistance, 50% fib extension level. Beautiful. I'm starting to like a short up at that level on NQ for those reasons. And then we can finish this up on a 1-hour time frame, guys, on NQ. So on NQ, we got some 1-hour supply right there. Okay, so the 1 hour, we got this drop, base, drop. So there's your 1-hour supply inside of your 4-hour supply, sitting right at that daily zone of resistance and right up against that 50% fib extension level. All right, so that gives us 4 reasons to get short, somewhere around 23,320 to 23,340 is going to be the sweet spot to get short here on NQ today, guys. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Pretty simple stuff. But if you guys are not really understanding why the trade is the best trade up here on ESNQ based on the analysis, go ahead and ask. I'll explain it, but it should make sense to most of you. And that's going to be the best of the best for today, guys. Easy peasy stuff. YM, we're still looking for the short up around 44,400. Right? So if you go back and look at YM on the daily, we got that daily zone of prior support that we're expecting to see retest as resistance. So on YM, we have that zone between 44,425 to 44,473. That's a really nice area of resistance to the upside on YM, number one. Number two, we do have some 1 hour supply from last Thursday right here. So we have that 1 hour drop, base, drop. So we have some 1 hour supply, lines up with that daily zone of resistance. So now we have two reasons to take the trade. We are stuck below this nice little downtrend since last Monday. So you can see that we have high, drop, lower high, drop, lower high, drop, lower high, drop. So we're downtrending on a 1 hour, consistently building lower highs, lower lows. But every time we come up and hit that downtrend resistance, we drop. Come up, downtrend resistance, we drop. Come up, hit downtrend resistance, we drop. So we do have a valid downtrend across those lower highs. And what do we notice? Oh, shoot, that downtrend lines up with my 1 hour supply zone and daily zone of resistance. So this is starting to look like a really nice area to get short here on YM. Multi-day downtrend resistance, daily zone of resistance, and then we got some 1 hour supply sitting right at this 44,440 level. So if we can see YM up around 44,440, that should be easy to remember. It's nothing but fours. We can just say 44,444. Make it really easy. All fours. We get up into the downtrend resistance. We hit some of that 1 hour supply, and we reject off that daily zone of resistance. That's where I want to be getting short, expecting more downside. Where to? I got a pretty crazy target, but my target's realistic. It's going to be the untouched zone of demand to the downside. So we got some of this daily 4 hour demand down around like 43,260. So that's my target, guys, is going to be that demand zone. Not only is it a demand zone, it is a 50% retracement level here on YM. So that is an area that I definitely want to get long. So I'm definitely going to cover my short position down around that 50% retracement level, which is also right up against some of that daily demand. So what's my risk reward on YM? I mean, potentially a 10-to-1 risk reward on YM. So I like it. Not saying I'm going to take this all the way down for that 10-to-1 because we may not even get there today. So I may have to get out before market close on that position. But if we do dump on off and see even more downside, that's a realistic target. Is going to be into some of that daily demand down around 43,288, 43,300, somewhere in that region there on YM. All right. But that looks really good. I'm going to keep this one on high watch. That is like I won't say it's the best, but it's definitely one of the best looking stocks and one of the best potential setups for today. All right, so that's going to be YM. If you guys are looking at silver futures, right? SI, silver futures, what do we have for today? A couple things that stand out to me. All right, number one, we have the top of the daily gap at 37.73. So we have that big gap down from Wednesday into Thursday. We can come up, fill the gap, and see what? A gap fill rejection. So go ahead and mark up the gap level. All right, then we have this daily zone of resistance up between 37.68 to 37.76. We come up, hit this level 2 times back to back. Nice drop on off. Come up, hit that level, drop on off. We break through that zone, retest it 1, 2 days back to back beautifully, and then see that next pop to the upside. So we got a really nice daily zone of resistance that we're coming up into. Just so happens to line up at the top of the gap. All right, so now you have 2 reasons to get short. gap filled rejection, right? And you have a nice daily zone of resistance there as well. But there's two other things that I notice. Let's go take this down into a 4-hour time frame, right? What do I notice on a 4-hour time frame? I notice we have 4-hour supply here on SI, silver. We have this drop, base, drop. So I notice we have some 4-hour supply. Wow! 4-hour supply lines up at the downtrend. Well, we haven't talked downtrend. Let me back up. Wow! 4-hour supply lines up at the top of the gap. Haha. And it lines right up with that daily zone of resistance. So this is starting to look like a really nice area to get short. You got supply, top of the gap, daily zone of resistance. Now we got the downtrend. Now the downtrend comes into the picture. We have two valid points to run a downtrend here on silver futures. You have this high drop, lower high drop that gives you two lower highs to go ahead and run a downtrend here on silver. And so that is the final confluence, is we have downtrend resistance here on silver as well. And that's a 0.3 hit off of a lower low. So we already know there's a pretty high probability chance that we hit the downtrend on 0.3 and we see a drop, because it's coming into 0.3 on a significant lower low. So we already know that there's a really good chance we hit the downtrend, we drop on off. But not only do we have the downtrend resistance to take a trade off of, downtrend resistance lines up with the top of the gap for the gap fill rejection. Lines up with that 4-hour supply where we expect to hit some of those unfilled orders and drop to the downside. And we got that beautiful daily zone of resistance as well. We have 4 separate reasons to get short on silver futures today, right around 37.73. Right around 37.73 is where I'm looking to take a short today on silver future. So what would my plan look like? Entries right at 37.73. Putting stops up around 37.90. Target, we got to look left. That's going to be your first target, is going to be that pullback low. So that gives you a 6-to-1 risk reward into your first target. And then if we can get back into Thursday's lows at your main target, you've got potential to get about an 8-to-1 here out of silver futures. But again, first target, you're going to rock a nice little 6-to-1 setup. So that is going to be SI, silver futures, baby. Looking good. What about gold? Gold. Couple things I noticed with gold. We got a daily zone of resistance that we're coming up into. That daily zone of resistance on GC. Again, we're looking at gold futures. Daily zone of resistance is 3427.8. All right, so 3427.8 up to 3434.3. That's going to be your daily zone of resistance. Okay. Next, we got a nice leg to the downside on the daily. We got a lower high. We got a lower low. So nice daily leg to the downside. So go ahead and put a fib extension from swing high to swing low. All right, then go ahead and go down to a 4-hour time frame, and you're going to notice that we have some 4-hour supply here on GC. Right, nice drop. You could look at this as 4 basing candles where we base, 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 and then drop. So you would just mark up all of those 4 basing candles. But if we really just zoom in and really look at this area, we can see that we have a little bit of this rally, base, base, drop. So then I can really hone this in to, hey, we really just have these 2 basing candles right here. Okay, so you could look at it as a drop, base, 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 drop, right? I wouldn't be upset with that. But if you really zoom in, you could see rally, base, base, drop. And so we could really drill in and dial this in and identify where that battle took place, where those unfilled orders are most likely going to be left behind. So that's going to be your 4-hour zone of supply. Surprisingly, your 4-hour zone of supply sits right inside of that daily zone of resistance. Coincidence? I think not. I don't believe in coincidences. So yeah, you got that daily zone of resistance. You got your 4-hour supply, and it's right up against your 382 fib extension. So that gives you 3 reasons to get short right around 40. Yeah, 40. I'm dyslexic if you guys haven't been able to tell yet. 34.33. 34.33 is going to be the best area to get short on GC, right? 4-hour supply, daily zone of resistance, 382 fib extension. So let's keep that one on high watch as well. So we've discussed ES, NQ, YM, silver, and gold. We just picked apart 5 different tickers. And 5 tickers that have really good potential for today, guys. All right, so before we dive into anything else, do you guys have any questions on ES, NQ, YM, SI, or GC? Just want to make sure you guys are good to go. If so, we will go into Boeing. I think there's some good potential with Boeing, and then maybe coin as well. Jared, what's up, buddy? Good morning. All right. If I do see any questions come in chat, I'll stop, answer the questions, make sure you guys are good. But I just want to make sure you understand the analysis we've done, right? From starting at the daily down to the lower time frames and what I'm seeing and what I'm looking at to run those fib extensions, to identify those multiple time frame zones of supply, demand. I want to make sure that entire process makes sense, that the analysis we're doing makes sense, that you could clearly see that, where you guys are really sharpening those skills. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely go look at Microsoft for sure. I want to talk about Boeing real quick. These next two will be quick and easy. If Boeing can break above this daily zone and hold it as intraday support, I want to get long up towards around 225.72 because that's the top of a daily gap, is up around 225.72. So if we can break this zone between 221.97 to 222.47, if we can just see price break that zone today, come down and hold it as intraday support, again, right around 222, I want to play calls up to 225.72 because that's going to be the top of this daily gap that's still unfilled from the gap down that we saw Wednesday into Thursday. Right? So if you go look at the daily time frame on Boeing, you see that gap down from Wednesday into Thursday. So that left this big gap on the daily. And so again, there's the top of the gap right up around that 225.81 level. So that's it. We want to see if we can break that zone of resistance, stay above it as intraday support. As long as we see that break and retest, we know we want to play calls up to 225.81 on Boeing. All right. And then lastly, coin, maybe. We get that big gap to the upside on coin. So I definitely want to keep this on watch and see if we ever start to get back inside of the daily gap. All right, so bottom end of the gap is at 335.14. Top of the daily gap is going to be 377.68. So you got a big freaking gap here on coin. Massive gap down Thursday into Friday off earnings, right? So if we can get back inside the gap, stay in the gap, I want to play calls for a gap fill long from that 335.14 level back up to fill the gap at 377.68. So that's if we can get back inside the gap on coin. So let's keep this one on watch for the gap fill long. Maybe we see it setting up this week. So that's coin. You got Boeing. Looks pretty decent for today if we get back above that 222 zone. And then we have, again, ES, NQ, YM, silver, gold looking pretty decent for today, guys. So we are dialed. Microsoft, Mr. Jared, MSFT. Let's see what we got on Microsoft. We are in the gap, brother man. We are in the gap. So I see a fib retracement. Would we put a fib retracement on this? We just got to identify the leg. So, I mean, we got to swing low, swing high. So, I mean, realistically, if we were going to put a fib on the daily, we would go from swing low to swing high, and we're below all of those fib levels that we even utilize. Could we put a fib on a weekly? Maybe the weekly looks a little bit different. Yeah, where's my clear swing low to swing high. I mean, clear swing low, clear swing high on a weekly. So then that would be a massive, weekly fib from the swing low to the swing high. If we were to put a weekly fib on it. And if we go back into a daily and we really look at our previous swing low to swing high, it would be right here, swing low, up to that swing high. But again, we're below all of those fib levels that we even utilize as confluence. So I don't see the fib being really something that would validate itself today. I just don't see it being a strong enough confluence to use based on where we're running that fib. So really just looking at what we have on Microsoft, I mean, we're still inside the gap, right? And we could absolutely come down and fill this gap on Microsoft. I'm going to readjust my gap. We're going wick to wick. So high a day before the gap up low a day. So bottom of the gap is like right at 516 on Microsoft. And we already had the gap fill short trade set up on Friday up around 532. So we're just in the gap, and that's really all we have on Microsoft. So let's take this down into a lower time frame, and let's get an idea of what we can maybe see. All right, so I'm on a 1 hour time frame right now. And the first thing that I see that we could do on Microsoft is we could put a little fib extension on this 4 hour leg to the downside. We could put a fib extension there because you could see that on a 4 hour, and you clearly see this leg down on a 1 hour. So yeah, absolutely. You can go in there and put a fib extension on this leg down. Let's do that. Fib extension from the swing high to the swing low, back up to the swing high. So go ahead and put that fib extension there. Do we have anything on a 4 hour that stands out? No. Do we have anything on a 1 hour that stands out? Is there a little downtrend maybe here? Little downtrend, right? We do have a little downtrend sitting here off of those slightly lower highs. So put the downtrend there. And then take note of that fib's golden pocket, right? We did a fib extension from swing high to swing low because we got a valid leg to the downside. So take note of where that fib extension's golden pocket is. Shocking that it lines up at the top of the gap, still resistance, and this little downtrend, resistance. So we have a leg down. We can see that the fib's golden pocket lines up right around 532. So we already know that's where the retracement high could form, right? This is a leg down. So right now we are in a retracement. So where could that retracement lower high form? Well, I'm looking at the fib extension first. The golden pocket is definitively an area that we could see that lower high form. But it's not just the fib extension's golden pocket. It's back up against the top end of the gap. Resistance. That's at 532. And it's right up against 0.3 of this little downtrend that we can see here on Microsoft. So if Microsoft comes up into downtrend resistance, that's one reason to get short. Back up to the top of the gap, resistance. Second reason to get short. And we could see that that would also be the fib extension's golden pocket, where that indicates that's the most realistic area to see that lower high form before getting the next leg to the downside. 3 reasons to get short around 532 today here on Microsoft for the gap fill. See if we can actually come down and completely fill the gap. So this is how I would expect to see it play out. I mean, not just like my drawing, but pretty close. Come up, hit the top of the gap, stay below it, hit the downtrend resistance, stay below it, and put in a lower high right inside that fib's golden pocket. That's what I would like to see to get short, and I would expect to see it come on down and fill the gap at 516. That's Microsoft, boss man. So no valid fib retracement on Microsoft, but we can see we have a valid fib extension on that 4 hour leg to the downside. All right, and then I'm still going to work Microsoft. I'm going to take it to a 30. See if we have anything else on a 30. What about a 15? Anything that's clear on a 15? And how about a 5? Anything clear on a 5? No, that's what we got, man. You still got 3 reasons to get short up around 532 on Microsoft. So it looks good. I think Microsoft goes to the top of the list for today. And entries are going to be right where those confluences meet and line up at the same price point. So right around 532 is going to be the dialed in entry point here on Microsoft. All right, I got time for one more. What's another stock that you guys are looking at for today that you think is day trade worthy? What's another stock? Cleared up some questions? Awesome, Jared. I love hearing that, man. Anything else? Euler. Paxton saying Roblox After Hours Thursday. Going to be watching that as well. It was an RKLB? Rocket Lab. Okay. I got it mixed up. Rocket Lab earnings on Thursday. Do we have a potential swing trade through earnings? It really depends on if we're coming into any higher time frame zones of like supply and demand. So if I go to a weekly on RKLB, like we're at all-time highs, your closest area of demand on a weekly is not till you get back down towards around this 33.76 to 36.56 level. We have a rally base rally. So that's your weekly demand. There's no weekly supply. And then flip this down into a daily. What else we got on the daily? Well, there's your daily demand right there. So that's like 35.80. 35.80 is looking like a really good area to be buying this long term, to getting in for a swing trade. Down around like, yeah, that 35.60 to 35.80 levels looking good. You got weekly, daily demand. And you got the 50 SMA sitting right there as well on the daily. So come down into daily, weekly demand and hold that 50 SMA. That's looking like a really good area to get long on RKLB. I'm actually going to add this to the watch list because this could be a nice swing trade on RKLB. I'm liking it at first glance. I did notice that we could put a weekly fib on this, right? So let's go from swing low to swing high, and let's put a weekly fib retracement on this leg. So there's your leg to the upside on the weekly. Swing low, swing high. So go ahead and put your weekly fib there from those 2 points. All right, we got our weekly demand there. Beautiful. Even have that breakaway gap on the weekly, so that really stands out to me, right? We have the rally base rally, but we had a gap up open before the impulse, before the rally. So that's one of those criteria boxes we check off when grading a zone's significance. So that is a much more significant zone because we had the breakaway on that weekly demand zone. That looks good. The daily's clean, super clean. And that lines up with that 618 retracement level. So RKLB down around 36 looks to be a really good area to get in. Down around 36 bucks. That's a 618 retracement into the daily 50 SMA, into weekly daily demand, and that is significant demand down around 36. So that's what I see on RKLB to get long. Right? Where would I maybe get short? Again, we're thinking earnings Thursday. Like, are we going to be at $36 before earnings on Thursday? No. So we're not going to play calls and swing those calls through earnings because, again, we're not going to be there. But do we have any valid supply that we can get short off of? Well, this is the first area of supply that I'm seeing here on RKLB's daily. Right? Where we have this little drop, base, drop. We already came back up and hit about 20% of that supply zone on Thursday that we dropped on off, right? So we got some daily supply. Let's see if we have any 4-hour supply inside of that daily. Because that could be an area where we get shorts through earnings. So there is your 4-hour supply zone. that's inside of yo daily. So there's your 4-hour supply. All right, now do we have a third and final zone that overlaps? Let's go into a 1 hour, and there's my 1 hour. Clear as day right there. All right, nice little drop, base. There's the drop. So I have 3 overlapping zones on RKLB. That's minimum. So where is my third smallest overlapping zone of supply? It's going to be between $48 to $48.14. That's where I have my daily, my 4-hour, and my 1 hour all overlap. So would I get short on the overlap? Yes. And would I hold this through earnings to the short side? Yes. So here's the deal, right? We got 3 overlapping zones of supply. It's more realistic that we get to supply before we get to demand. If we are sitting Thursday, right? Because its earnings are Thursday after the close. If we are inside of that supply zone on Thursday, right, I'm going to get short and play puts. And if we see price falling out of supply Thursday before earnings, I will hold those puts through earnings for a swing trade overnight, expecting price to be able to fall hard out of earnings into that daily demand down around 36. So that's the game plan on RKLB. If we are sitting at that overlapping supply area on Thursday, it could even be Wednesday, but ahead of earnings, we're sitting there, I'm taking puts, and if we fall out of supply before Thursday night market close, I'm going to hold those puts through earnings. If we are not falling out of supply and seeing downside, I'm going to close that trade completely, right? Not hold that trade through earnings and then see it gap up. But if we hit supply and we're falling out of it ahead of earnings, I will be in that trade. I will be scaling out, and I will be holding some of that trade through earnings to see if we get that nice gap down into demand. RKLB looks great, man. I love it. I think it looks phenomenal. So let's keep this one on high watch as well, boss. I think it looks good. All right. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen. We are dialed in, ready to go, ready to rock, baby. So I will see you guys in the Zoom session here in like 30 seconds. Let me get that loaded on up. And for those of you inside of the M2 coaching program, I will have the live stream up here in about 30 seconds as well. So go ahead and switch from the morning TA session over to the M2 coaching session so you guys can see that live stream. But those of you that are inside of the mentorship, you guys know where you need to be inside the Zoom. And I will be in that Zoom session here in about 30 seconds, guys. So I will see you back here